My name is Barry Hoonan, and I teach 5th and 6th grade here on Bainbridge Island in an alternative program called Odyssey Multi-Age.
All right, the literature groups that we'll be meeting first will be...
I think literature is learned in a community that embraces stories, embraces writing.
So we'll have Freak the Mighty here, and we'll have drawing lessons at these two tables.
I think one of the best ways to foster community is through literature discussion groups.
You don't need a time machine if you can remember, which is kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how Freak came in and he saved Max.
Now, drawing lessons looks like a rather large group, so I was thinking about breaking it up into two.
When I plan literature discussion groups, the first thing that goes through my mind is how will the kids find their way into the book? It's a really a slippery question. When I begin with too much structure, because I worry that it's not going to be done right, that's usually where we fail the most. That'll sound odd, but the kids usually respond by it being very stiff. They'll ask the question, they'll expect the answer to revolve around the circle, and what we will have accomplished is probably a fairness in equal time. Everybody's had a voice, but we would have missed the real essence, I think, of conversation. That is, it's creative. It sparks something that they may not have thought before.
So you've chosen a leader?
Kill him, I don't want her.
Okay, who's facilitating?
Typically in the literature discussions, there's a facilitator.
Why don't you just take it?
Here's what we're supposed to do. We're going to choose a leader. We're going to welcome you all, and then we're going to do the lead question. Okay.
The facilitator's role is to keep things moving and to make sure that that everybody has a voice, whether it's nodding or contributing through their ideas. And the other is potentially is to get kids to dig deeper into their thoughts. Frequently we get the piggybacking effect, and hopefully the facilitator will be skilled enough to dig deeper into some of their insights.
So the pace was slow at the beginning, and then it spread quite up. Do you think that was intentional? I mean, do you think the author tried?
I think it wasn't intentional. I think he just kind of wanted
There's a really dramatic change. There's only
They already come to this classroom with a great deal of information and knowledge. There are things that I know that I can plant and grow, but I think literature begins by taking the key from the kids.
But it's really lifelike, because somebody actually, you could imagine somebody walking through exactly like that.
Yeah, but it kind of seemed like they described some of the things, more of the things, how not about what she was thinking. Well, they were describing what she was thinking and stuff, but sometimes about stuff that wasn't really that important. I don't know.
It's amazing how lost she felt without her dad.
How
Lost. Because the whole thing about how she doesn't live for someone anymore. It's like somebody the stuffer.
The stuck thing she had in her hand, when she couldn't move it across the page she used to.
Because her dad was big time. It was her whole life relied on her dad. She couldn't draw without him. She couldn't live without him.
He was her idol. He was she followed him in everything he did, and they were really close. And it's really sad. He did eyes, and he's just somebody just went pop, and your eyes were gone.
Okay, so we keep coming back to, it sounds like, the character, which is pretty revealing from the cover. And Allison, let's revisit. What's this notion of lost without her dad? What's some evidence in the book or pieces in the book that you remember?
She can't draw anymore. As soon as her dad leaves, she won't draw, and she hates everything to do with drawing because it reminds her of him. Yeah, there's a great scene in there where she walks into a barn that used to be a studio. I think it was the barn that used to be a studio. And when she walks into a studio and she just she dumps it all into and she dumps everything into a garbage can.
I thought it was sort of, her grandma was really nice. She's like, I'll spoil you since I never see you. And she got her this really nice watercolor paints. And then when she went home to try painting again, she couldn't paint, and it seemed like just really weird. Well, I guess it also explained that she had never painted with watercolors.
But it's like it talks about the red, and she just barely does it, and then it spreads all over the page because she only ever painted with acrylics, and it just spreads all over the page, and then she puts a little green on it, and then all of a sudden there's just this brown mucky page, and talks about she goes to her dad and she sees if he can help her with watercolor and stuff. She's got all these hopes about maybe I'll be able to draw again when I'm with him, and then it's like, why are you here? What are you doing here? Who knows you're here? Did you tell your Nana? Did you tell your mom? I mean, what about like just what he said? And he said some really bad stuff.
Say that.
He said some stuff like
Who says?
her dad.
Okay. Oh, this is towards the end.
This is really towards the end.
Okay, so how about if we start at the beginning and look at either Rory or Dad?
Yeah, I know. I think it's so sad that she won't tell.
Natalie, what's your thoughts about Nikki?
It really seemed like she was just not wanting to. She was always with Dean and she was never with them. But then she explained that she just because Rory never seemed to be like. She explained that she thought that Rory was like trying to just not.
Because like two big things were missing from her life: her best friend and her dad, and it's what kept her really happy and stuff. And then her mom was also she was really sad and stuff. So it's just like her life was just like her friend was gone. You'd think that her friend would be there when her dad had gone and stuff. But
is that real? Is that something that could happen? I mean, that was one of the points you brought up earlier. Is how consistent the book was.
Her friend Nikki gets there and
All sit together and try not to overwhelm them with the teacher's agenda, but to delicately bring some kind of coherence to a path of discussion. Because generally speaking, that's what's most difficult for a group of kids. They hear themselves talking, and they think they're being brilliant. But by the second or third time, it's quite nice to dig a little deeper into one or two things. And other times, I'll just push back from the group and bring out my clipboard and watch and see what resonates.
I didn't know if they were divorced or not. No, they were. When the words they explained, it seemed like was her dad there or not. I couldn't figure that out.
I'll show you at the end. It says, the last page, it says, I painted all on my own, just for Mom. I saw my painting style rooted in my father's, but branching out in new directions that were entirely my own. I felt him watching from the other side of the river, and even though that wasn't where I wanted him to be, at least I know he was there.
So his stance is on the other side of the river. You think that's permanent?
Yeah.
That represents.
I think it was pretty cool how she painted that whole mural all by herself after she went through that phase of not being able to paint.
Why was that so important?
It's because she evolved from being because before she had to paint with her dad, otherwise she couldn't do anything, and she was determined to do it with her dad because she was afraid she'd mess up or something. And then she got over that and knew she could do it herself and just let her hand flow to do the drawing.
So is this a story of hope or a story of despair?
Hope. Both, yeah. I think that she was used to being able to rely on her dad, to help her with all those paintings and telling her what to do, so she knows how to do that kind of stuff. But then, you know how she said that her branches of her dad and branches of her and stuff in her painting, and so I think by him not being there, it kind of made her have her own way of painting other than her dad, which is when you're part of a family, you say I'm part of this from my mom, this from my dad, and so it's basically the same for her in painting, because she's part of she's herself, but she's also part of her dad's style.
Okay, so she found these two parts, and that part that was missing was herself?
Yeah.
I think we've learned putting out books for kids and having them kind of muck their way through can be just that. There can be a bit of a muddle. I think our demonstrating as teachers our own insights, giving kids the platform to delve into those insights, will raise the level of interpretation.
When I read that part, like when she was kind of unsure about being best friends with Nikki, it made me remember some stuff what happened with when I had a best friend, and like we broke up.
Yeah,
It made me. I was reading that last night, and it made me go back, and I stopped reading for a while, and I thought about like then when it happened.
Could you make a little note somewhere, maybe a post it in a journal, so you could, if you want, if you don't mind, we'll revisit that connection with your own life.
Okay.
And
I thought about Nikki. Well, see, I thought that, see, me and Lauren are best friends, and see, I have sometimes trouble asking her things, but sometimes I have to. Like she had to. In the end, she had to finally tell her about the.
Oh yeah, when she like set the extra place for her dad.
okay, so I think perhaps the big piece that we'll wrestle with next time is the connection with our own friends and friendship, and the question of what do you tell them and how do you trust them. Okay?
When someone comes into this classroom and observes the goings on, a question that comes up is, what are you doing as the teacher? And frequently I turn it back to the person who begins that question to say, how do we learn? You know, do we learn by mirroring back the information that's given to us, or do we wrestle with it? Do we create something new? Do we make interpretations? I think good literature teachers step out of the way of kids, particularly at the middle school level, where students will come in with their arms crossed and say, what do you know? Literature comes alive when kids have a chance to interpret and interact. It allows kids not only see themselves as active readers, but as people who can make meaning.